Hello and welcome everyone, Lionheart here, and today I'm taking a look at the MSI Z270 Gaming M5 motherboard. This is part of their latest lineup of motherboards supporting both Intel 6th gen CPUs and their newest 7th gen Kaby Lake processors. MSI have very kindly loaned me this motherboard along with an Intel i7 7700K so that I could test it all out for this review. So let's jump on into it and take a look at the specifications of the motherboard. As I've already mentioned, the CPU support for this motherboard is both 6th and 7th gen Intel CPUs, the LGA 115 socket. The M5 features 4 DDR4 RAM slots supporting up to 64 gig of dual channel memory, and depending on whether you're using a 6th or 7th gen Intel CPU, DDR4 RAM speeds are supported up to 3600 MHz for 6th gen CPUs or 3800 MHz for 7th gen CPUs. From Intel. For my testing purposes, I was using 2 sticks of 8 gig Apacer Bladefire RAM at 3200 MHz. Moving on to the PCIe slots on the board, there's 3 PCIe 3.0 x 16 slots and 3 PCIe 3.0 x 1 slots, with support for 2-way NVIDIA SLI or 3-way AMD Crossfire, depending on your graphics card preferences. In terms of storage, there's 6 SATA ports and 2 M.2 slots, with the lower M.2 slot featuring a M.2 shield for improved thermal dissipation so that the connected M.2 drive can run cooler, faster and safer. I should also mention that the RAM slots, PCIe slots and the M.2 slots all feature MSI's steel armor for added strength, stability and EMI shielding. It also looks to me quite nice and helps to highlight parts of the motherboard design, which maybe it's due to the addition of RGB lighting. MSI have actually chosen to kind of ditch their normal red and black design that I've seen them use over previous motherboards, and instead they've gone for a gunmetal with the silver steel armor accents for this design, which I really like actually. I think it gives you a bit more of kind of a blank canvas in terms of, you know, kind of your freedom to choose your color palette for your PC design, as long as you're going for something, I guess, that has, a darker case. Then this should allow you to customize and choose, you know, a few more kind of vibrant colors for the rest of your components, and just give you a bit more kind of room for theming choices, I guess. Moving on to the rear I/O, and taking a look at that panel from left to right, we have a PS2 gaming device port, 2 USB 2.0 ports, a clear CMOS button, and then we have a BIOS flashback USB port, which allows for quick and easy BIOS restoration. Should anything go wrong with your BIOS or during an update of your BIOS, you can just load a BIOS onto a USB drive and plug it in there, and you'll be able to flash it back to a stable working BIOS. Then we've got a DisplayPort and HDMI, and then we have 2 Lightning USB 3.1 ports, both Gen 2. One is Type A and one is Type C. Next to that we have 2 VR-ready USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, which MSI have added along with a VR boost chip, which MSI say traditionally USB ports can suffer from signal drops, significantly impacting performance of connected devices. VR boost is a smart chip which enables and ensures clean and strong signal to a VR optimized USB port, giving you an enjoyable VR experience. This is also paired with a software option to kind of set your PC to be VR ready, and it has a single click feature which sets all your key components to their highest performance and makes sure that other software applications won't impact your VR experiences. This to me sounds like a single click will stop any non-essential processes running in the background sort of deal, but you know, it can't hurt to have something like that just kind of shuts down non-essential processes in the background to give you, I guess, all the processing power, all the focus of your PC's resources on, you know, loading up VR, because that can be very intensive. Coming back to the rear I/O, above the VR ready USB ports, we have a killer E2500 gigabit LAN port, followed by 5 HD audio connectors and an optical out. But the audio features don't end there. MSI's latest audio enhancements for the M5 come in the form of the Audio Boost 4 and the Nahimic 2 audio enhancer, which is customizable via software provided by MSI, allowing for custom EQ audio profiles, tweaks and changes, as well as microphone configuration options such as noise suppression and voice leveling. And there's a whole host of other options that you can find in the software for all your audio needs. Once again, MSI have used an isolated and dedicated audio path on the PCB, along with golden audio connectors to ensure the highest quality audio signal, and I've not noticed any issues with that while running some tests and gaming. In terms of lighting, MSI have used their Mystic lighting system built into the bottom right heatsink. They've provided an additional RGB LED pin as well, allowing you to connect an extra LED lighting strips to your case and run them off the MSI Mystic lighting software, so you can sync all your LEDs under one software solution. It'll also detect if you've got, say, like an MSI graphics card, and I think there are other brands and like peripheral makers as well that they all support, and that you can sync up all the colors across them if you want to. Have a look at the link in the description for more information on that. But the Mystic lighting system has 7 color options for your motherboard for that heatsink, and there's 4 lighting effects at this time. I've got to admit, I do find it a bit odd that they haven't included a color wheel. They've actually just chosen kind of 7 color squares, palettes that you just click through. I don't know if maybe that's a hardware limitation for the lighting there, but I guess it would have just been nice, a bit more customization, especially because you're allowing you to plug in extra LED strips. You'd probably want a full color wheel of 16.8 million colors, which is what most sort of RGB LED strips tend to have. But maybe that will come up in a firmware update or something down the line. Maybe it's something they'll consider for, I guess, their future motherboard products. But for now, you know, it offers some basic lighting effects, and for those addicted to RGB, I'm pretty sure this will, you know, keep you satisfied. It's also worth noting that MSI do include an 80cm extension cable in the box for adding those extra RGB LED strips to your case. So for cable management and everything like that, or if your first strip of the chain you're adding in is way up the top, you've got a bit more cabling to get it all connected up there. There's a total of 6 fan headers arrayed around the motherboard, which can all be adjusted or set to smart fan profiles via the BIOS, or, I've got to admit, through the rather useful MSI Command Center app for your desktop. This software, unlike many others I've used in the past, is actually rather useful, and while it might have while the MSI Gaming app might have the odd gimmicky feature in there, the Command Center app is actually all kind of down to business. Along with custom fan control, the app provides full customization over pretty much all aspects of your PC hardware. Most notably, the overclocking options are pretty darn good. Now, I can already hear many of you screaming your heads off in the comment section saying, you know, you swear off ever thinking about using software to overclock your CPU or your RAM from an OS level software solution, and that you'd much prefer using the tried and tested and traditional BIOS setup route as your preferred way of overclocking and general system tweaking. And I would normally agree with you. The BIOS, okay, it's not necessarily the most user-friendly, although MSI's Click BIOS is very nice and easy to navigate, and I've used it in the past very successfully. It's got an easy and advanced mode, and you can switch between that, whether you want more, you know, complex options and what have you. But if you'd rather choose something that's on the desktop, the Command Center app, I think MSI have actually got it right. In my testing, any unstable overclocking that I did do through the software resulted in a restart of the PC back to previous safe clock speeds, and, you know, just as you would find with you know, setting it through the BIOS, but it just came back through to the desktop, and I could just load up the software again and change a few more values. You've got full voltage control as well, so you can do it all through that software if you want to. For the most part though, I just actually enabled MSI's pre-configured Game Boost overclock. This took the already pretty monstrous i7 7700K from 4.2 GHz to 4.8, which I think's pretty darn impressive. Maybe 600 MHz isn't that impressive to some of you, but for me, from 4.2 to 4.8, I think that's pretty sizable, especially when we're getting to these sorts of speeds. You only have to tweak a few more things via either the software or via the traditional BIOS approach to get to 5 GHz with this motherboard and this processor. And in fact, I've seen on the M5's bigger brother, the M7, MSI actually have pre-configured options of that to take it up to, I believe, 5.2 with kind of predefined presets that they have. Obviously, you may need to tweak them and see if they're stable and what have you. But yeah, out of the box, you can hit that game boost and it'll take you to 4.8 with the 7700K. And I think that's pretty darn impressive. And as I've said, a bit more tweaking and 5 GHz is easily within reach for most people with this motherboard and processor. Although, do remember, please use proper CPU cooling. For this review, I was using the Corsair H100i version 1 water cooling system. Yeah, either get yourself a solid air aftermarket cooler or a closed loop water cooler, or if you're being super fancy and you're doing your own custom water cooling, do that. But some kind of decent cooling solution is going to be needed. The i7 7700K idled at around 30 degrees and topped out in my rendering test, bench tests, and sort of gaming at around 81, 82 degrees. And that was all with the Game Boost overclock of 4.8 GHz. Overall, my experience with the M5 has been pretty great though. The board has all the features I'd need and more. It's refreshing to see an OS side software solution like the Command Center app that actually works, is stable, reliable, is easy to customize and tweak should anything go wrong. Obviously, I know many will want to stick to a BIOS approach, and before this I was very much the same for me. But for overclocking it now, at least there's a kind of a reasonable, solid alternative with that MSI Command Center app if you want to use it. And I guess it's good for quickly, running quick tweaks and tests from the operating system. My gaming experience with it was solid, and titles such as Battlefield 1 were running maxed out with the M5, the i7 7700K, 16 gig of DDR4, a Pacer Bladefire RAM, and a GTX 980 Ti. If you're looking for a Z270 chipset motherboard, either for your existing Skylake processor or you're looking to get the latest Intel Kaby Lake CPU, then the M5 is a solid motherboard. Retails for around £193 here in the UK. Feel free to check out the link to Overclockers in the description. Likewise, the link for Amazon US, where the M5 retails for $199. So yeah, cheers for watching this review, and thanks again to MSI for loaning me both the M5 and the i7 7700K for this review. I better go box them back up and get them ready to send them back. But yes, hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Take pride in the Legion. Check out my affiliates and sponsors, XMG, Greenman Gaming, and Overclockers UK. Until the next one, ciao for now.